September in the small town of Haven always smelled like damp leaves and something faintly rotten. It was the kind of place the highway forgot. The kind of place where even the gas station looked embarrassed to still exist. Cars rarely passed through, and new families almost never moved in. But that year, the Lawries did. There were 3 of them. Jen, a single mother in her 30s with the weary eyes of someone who'd been running for a long time. Her 14-year-old son, Sam, lanky and restless, and Ellie, Sam's 6-year-old sister, whose laughter came and went like bird calls. They rented an old house on the far end of Elm Street. The neighbors whispered about it. They always whispered about it. No one had lived there for over a decade. The last tenants had left in a hurry, so the story went. Nobody knew exactly why, but in Haven, silence was its own kind of folklore. The house itself seemed to wait for them, its crooked frame leaning slightly toward the overgrown yard. The porch steps groaned under their feet. Cracks ran along the inside walls like veins. The windows faced the road in a peculiar way, as if they weren't there to let light in, but to keep watch. That first night, after the boxes had been dumped in corners and the kids were in bed, Sam heard a sound. A faint creak, like someone taking a slow step down the upstairs hallway. "Wind," his mother said when he asked about it. She smiled too quickly, the kind of smile adults give when they want you to stop asking questions. But Sam couldn't shake the thought that the house wasn't just old, it was listening.
A week passed. Ellie started talking to herself, or rather, to someone else. Sam caught her sitting cross-legged on the floor of her room, her doll, a one-eyed ragged thing missing both buttons, propped up in front of her. "Who were you talking to?" Sam asked. Ellie looked up innocently. "The woman in the wall?" Sam frowned. "What woman?" "She says she missed me." He laughed it off at first, the way older brothers do. But later that night, as he lay awake, he heard it too. A faint rustle in the plaster, like fingers brushing along wood. One night he tested it. He knocked on the wall 3 times, and from inside, something knocked back 3 times. After that, he kept the lamp on beside his bed, but more often than not, the bulb fizzled out in the middle of the night, as though someone were leaning close and blowing gently until it died.
It was Ellie who found the basement door. Or rather, she pointed at the shelf in the laundry room and whispered, "She says it's behind there." Sam pulled the shelf away and found a narrow door sealed shut with rotting boards. He should have left it alone, but curiosity in a teenager is its own curse. He pried the wood loose, one piece at a time. The stairs groaned under his weight. The smell hit him before the darkness did. Damp stone, rusted metal, and something sweeter underneath, like spoiled meat. His flashlight beam jittered across old junk. Cracked jars, stacks of yellowed newspapers, a chair with one arm broken clean off. On the far wall, scrawled in something that might once have been paint, or something else, were the words, "Don't look her in the eyes." And then he noticed the corner. At first, it was just a heap of rags, shapeless and slumped. But when the light shifted, the pile seemed to twitch. His breath caught. He couldn't move. The longer he stared, the more certain he was that he was looking at a figure, a person, or the outline of one, crouched in the dark, waiting. A single drop of water fell from the ceiling, splattering the concrete. The sound snapped him free. He bolted up the stairs 2 at a time, heart hammering. The basement door slammed behind him. He hadn't touched it.
The house began to change after that. Or maybe it had always been changing, and Sam only just noticed. Jen looked more tired with each passing day, shadows deepening under her eyes as if she hadn't slept in weeks. Ellie, on the other hand, glowed. She drew pictures at the kitchen table. A tall woman with stretched out arms and hollow eyes. The figure appeared again and again, crayon lines becoming sharper, more deliberate. "She's my friend," Ellie said when Sam asked about it. "She says we'll all be together soon." One night, Sam woke to the feeling of being watched. He turned toward the window, and there she was. A face, white as plaster, lips curled into a jagged smile. A woman's face, staring straight at him. The worst part wasn't the face itself. It was the fact that his room was on the second floor. By the time he scrambled for the lamp, the glass was empty. But the next morning, muddy streaks smudged the outside of the window frame. When he told Jen, she dismissed it with a tired wave of her hand. "Nightmares. That's all this house does, feeds your imagination." But Sam knew. The house didn't just feed imaginations. It fed on people.
It was a stormy night when it finally happened. Leaves scraped across the street like dry bones. The air carried that heavy stillness before something breaks. Ellie was gone. Sam found her room empty. Her doll sat in the middle of the floor, its torn mouth twisted into a grin. From the basement came a sound, laughter, childish but warped, echoing like it came through a long metal pipe. "Sam!" Ellie's voice, too thin, too far away. He grabbed a flashlight and went down the stairs. The basement was alive. The walls pulsed faintly, like the slow throb of a vein. Shadows writhed along the concrete. In the center stood the woman, the one from the window. She was taller than he imagined, her limbs impossibly long, her face stretched into that same ghoulish smile. Her eyes were nothing, just empty sockets that seemed to drink in the light. She cradled Ellie in her arms, and Ellie was smiling too, a vacant, glassy smile. "We've been waiting," the woman whispered. Her voice came not just from her mouth, but from the walls, from the floor, from the very beams of the house. The house was hungry. It needs a family. Sam lunged forward, but the walls shuddered and dozens of gray hands erupted from the plaster. They clawed at him, bony fingers curling around his arms, his ankles, his throat. He screamed. The last thing he saw was Ellie's eyes, wide and unblinking. But they weren't Ellie's eyes anymore. The basement swallowed him whole. And the next morning, the neighbors noticed that the curtains in the old house were drawn again. The porch was still. The windows stared blankly at the street, waiting. By evening, the house was empty. At least, that's how it looked. But if you passed by on a quiet night, sometimes you could swear the curtains shifted, as if someone inside was waving